Have you ever stood by the ocean, gazing at its vast, endless horizon? While its beauty is undeniable, there's a darker side hidden beneath the waves, both in the absence of light and the terrifying creatures lurking below. From deadly predators to mysterious, unidentified beasts, here are the 20 most dangerous sea creatures in the world. Number 20. The cookie-cutter shark. When most of you think about dangerous ocean creatures, you likely go straight to sharks. Well, I can hardly blame you for that one. After all, there are plenty of sharks in the ocean, and some of them you might not even know about, like the cookie-cutter shark. This is a rather small but incredibly violent shark that has a gruesome way of getting its food. It will use its unique mouth to latch onto a target and then just rip out a chunk of flesh. And if you're wondering, yes, this has happened to humans. They are known to be incredibly painful bites that are slow to heal, and you honestly never see them coming before they strike. Number 19. The stonefish. It should actually concern you that we're going from one potentially dangerous creature with venom to arguably the most dangerous venomous fish in the world today. I'm not holding back on this one any bit. This is the stonefish, and it's not to be confused with a lionfish, even though they do have a lot of similarities. This one is far more dangerous due to the venom that it packs and the rather nonchalant way in which it can inject you with it. Let's get to the venom in a moment, but what I meant by nonchalant way of stinging you is that the stonefish doesn't actively hunt out prey or even seek trouble. It is the trouble, so it does things in a more relaxed way, using its own natural body's camouflage to blend into the terrain of the ocean. It does so quite well, which means that no one sees it there when they go down to examine something like a reef or even stones. Then, when they put their hands, their fins, or whatever body part in question they have near the stonefish, that's when they're going to get pricked by one of its spines, and that could lead to venom getting immediately injected into their body. In humans, the stings can cause intense pain, respiratory weakness, damage to the cardiovascular system, convulsions, and paralysis, which can also lead to death if you're not able to get treated. And if you can't guess, it's a bit hard to do when you're potentially paralyzed in the water and the venom is pumping through your veins. There's an antivenom, so if you do have someone nearby, they can get you to safety and treatment before things get too bad. However, you will regret it in the moment that you're stung. Trust me on that one. Number 18. The flower urchin. Perhaps you need a break from the venomous creatures of the deep. Well, that's too bad, because here at the Thought Trail, we love to spoil you, and we have the flower urchin. Unlike the stonefish, you have to be careful about this one simply because of it being a more nonchalant kind of being. It's one that doesn't move around like the other creatures, but it is alive, and to that end, they'll be just fine until you touch it, and then it will inject you with a rather painful venom. Now, believe it or not, there are actually 2 different venoms that a flower urchin can have, and some of them are so severe they can actually put you into a coma or straight up murder you. That has happened with humans multiple times over, and even if you don't die, well, the pain is said to be insufferable. Number 17. The leopard seal. When you picture a seal, you likely think of adorable animals that you would find in a place like SeaWorld, which of course is fair. However, there are larger and more dangerous versions of them out there in the world, with the biggest and most aggressive of the lot being the leopard seal. These are massive creatures that dominate the Antarctic region in the world. In fact, they're apex predators, and when I say that they're huge, I absolutely mean it, as they can be well over 3.6 meters in length and 500 kilograms in weight. And when they're in the water, they are much faster than you would expect. That's why they are the apex predator of the world, as they can full-on rush after something like a penguin, and they're able to get to them with relative ease. Number 16. Orcas. When you were picturing this list, did you really think that a whale would be on it? Well, when it comes to orcas, aka the killer whale, you have to make an exception to the rule because these are absolutely some of the most dangerous creatures in the ocean, and sometimes not even in the ocean. I'll get right to it. We all know the stories from places like SeaWorld where captured and trained orcas will sometimes lash out at their trainers. It's even been part of the plot of a video game now. Due to their bulk, speed, and power, they can absolutely kill a human and with ease, and they have done so in the past, much to people's dismay. However, it is out in the ocean that their true killer instinct comes into effect. Orcas can be big giant bullies, and I mean it. They have been known to taunt and harass creatures like seals and porpoises to the extent that they've been documented harassing certain groups for decades. That doesn't even get into what they do to sharks. They're one of the few creatures in the ocean that are willing to take on a great white, and they actually win that battle. In fact, they'll kill them if they have the chance, eat the organs that they find delicious, and then let their bodies drift in the water. Orcas are very cool, but they also have an incredibly dark side, it would seem. Now it's time for today's topic. A group of Australian fishermen off the coast of Western Australia recently captured bone-chilling footage of something lurking in the deep. While they were out in the open waters near the Indian Ocean, they spotted a colossal dorsal fin slicing through the waves, but this was no ordinary shark. At first, they assumed it was a massive great white, but as it surfaced further, the sheer size of the creature became unbelievable. The hump of its back rose out of the water, showing rough, scale-like textures, more resembling a prehistoric beast than any known ocean predator. The fishermen, too stunned to react, filmed as the creature swam parallel to their boat, keeping its distance. The dorsal fin alone towered over the waves, larger than anything they had ever seen. Marine experts reviewing the footage speculate it could be a deep-sea predator that has never been classified, possibly a gigantic, unknown species of shark, or even a relic from the prehistoric era. While some skeptics claim it could be a whale with an unusual deformity, the fishermen insist that whatever it wasn't something they ever want to see again. Number 15. Cone snails. Going from a shark to a snail may seem like whiplash, but don't underestimate the power of the cone snail. After all, they are venomous, and as we've already pointed out, anything with venom can be a serious threat to a human, amongst other things of course. Cone snails use a modified radula tooth and a venom gland to attack and paralyze their prey before they engulf it, and that's pretty classy. Their venom, known as conotoxin, is a complex cocktail of hundreds of different toxins, each targeting specific nerve channels, making it incredibly effective and fast-acting. What's even more fascinating is that scientists are studying cone snail venom for its potential use in developing painkillers and other medical treatments. Cone snails are slow-moving, so their venom is their primary defense mechanism, allowing them to immobilize prey like fish, worms, and other snails almost instantly. Some species, like the geography cone, are particularly dangerous to humans, with venom strong enough to cause respiratory failure or even death. The sting of a cone snail is often painless at first, which can make it even more dangerous, as symptoms may not appear until it's too late. Divers and beachgoers are advised to handle shells with extreme caution, as even a seemingly empty shell could house a live cone snail. While fatalities are rare, there is no known antivenom for a cone snail sting, so immediate medical attention is critical. While there are levels to the venom of a cone snail that it can inflict, the larger species are known to cause serious and long-lasting injuries in people, including potentially killing them. So you should be careful when you find a shell that you see on a beach. Number 14. The tiger shark. It may be a bit telling that we keep naming dangerous sharks after other creatures that have been known to take out humans. I mean, has anyone else picked up on that? Surely enough, the tiger shark is second only to the great white when it comes to fatal attacks on humans. However, since this is the last shark that we're going to list, I do want to note that fatal attacks by sharks on humans are exceedingly rare. They do happen, but they rarely, if ever, get above 100 per year. In fact, in the year 2023, there were only 69 shark attacks worldwide. Now, there is one thing that I do want to note about tiger sharks that does separate them from the pack in a different way. You see, they are the kind of shark that is truly willing to consume anything. I don't just mean that in the sense of it eats different kinds of fish and such, but it will also eat trash, as in human trash, the things that we put into the ocean even though we're not supposed to. Yep, they'll even eat that. Now, no, they cannot digest it properly, but they do go after it, which goes to show you that just like humans, animals can be really strange sometimes. Number 13. The needlefish. Now, given some of the names that I've shown you and ones that you are yet to see in this video, you may be getting the image of the needlefish being one that's full of needles or has needle-like spines. However, that is not the case. Instead, it has an incredibly thin and long mouth which looks like a sharp needle when it's closed, and then when you open that mouth, you're going to see a whole lot of teeth that are incredibly sharp and ready to rip into something. Isn't the ocean just really great? Here's where the twist comes in though, because these are a type of fish that don't mind jumping out of the water. That would not be bad in theory, except that they can rush out of there at about 60 kilometers per hour, and if their aim with their needle mouths are correct, what do you think it's going to do to a human who's standing on a boat? It's not good, and people have died because the fish have pierced key body parts, which includes piercing a child through his eyeball and then into his brain. Number 12. The stingray. This one should be one of the more obvious choices on our list, as the reason you want to avoid them is literally in the name. They can sting you. I mean, we're really enhancing your IQ here at the Thought Trail today, aren't we? The good news is that they aren't aggressive creatures, and they're more than fine with leaving you alone if you are willing to do the same to them. The stingers they have are meant for self-defense primarily, and that's a good thing because it will hurt when you get stung. You'll typically experience pain, swelling, muscle cramps, and potential infection depending on how you treat the wound. However, barring some kind of allergic reaction to the venom that it injects, it is likely not going to end up being very fatal. Sadly though, there are exceptions to the rule, as it was a stingray that caused the death of Steve Irwin while he was filming a documentary called Ocean's Deadliest. The reason his attack was fatal was due to the stingray literally piercing his heart, which caused far more damage than a typical sting would, and it made it impossible to save his life. A death like this should be the ultimate warning that just because a creature is not likely to kill you doesn't mean that it won't under the right circumstances. Number 11. The pufferfish. It honestly never gets old talking about the pufferfish, and for the most basic of reasons. This is a fish that is entirely innocuous when you first see it. That's because, in its base form, it looks like a simple fish. However, when it's threatened in any kind of way, it inflates itself and shows off various spikes on its body that not only have toxin but arguably the most dangerous toxin in the world, being tetrodotoxin. That's why predators will stay away from this fish because they tend to enjoy living, The twists do not stop there, not even by a long shot. You may recall that pufferfish is actually a delicacy in places like Japan, but there's a reason for that. It's illegal for anyone without a proper license to serve it, and that's because if you don't do it just right, you're going to leave some of that poison inside of its body, and that means that it will get into the person who consumes it and they will likely die. Some of the things you will experience if you eat this fish and its venom include hypersalivation, sweating, headaches, weakness, lethargy, incoordination, tremors, paralysis, bluish skin, loss of voice, difficulty swallowing, and seizures. So yes, it's all a bit bad, I would think. It goes to highlight the thing that I've been trying to enforce in your thoughts all throughout this video. You just never know exactly what is and is not the most dangerous thing in the ocean until you learn about everything that's inside of it. Things like the pufferfish pale in comparison to something like a shark, yet if you mess with one, it's going to more likely kill you than the shark will. Number 10. The shortfin mako shark. There are quite a few sharks on this list naturally because they are what's known as the major predators of the ocean. Now we have the shortfin mako shark, which is the first of the more aggressive sharks that have been known to actively attack a human in certain cases. What separates the mako shark from others is its raw speed. Not unlike another creature I'll talk about, this shark is fast, and it could get up to 74 kilometers per hour in the water, which is more than enough to catch prey that it finds to be enticing. Now, let's get to the big question. Do they actually attack humans, and if so, how many have they killed? The answer is yes, and less than a handful. Between the years of 1980 and 2024, there were just 10 attacks on humans by mako sharks, and 3 of them ended up being fatal. Most would agree that the makos generally leave people alone unless those people are trying to fish them out of the depths, and then it becomes fair game for the shark. Number 9. The red-bellied piranha. Now, you had to know that piranhas were going to eventually show up on a list like this. Technically, they are not found in the oceans but in rivers in places like the Amazon, but I'll put an exception on this one because of the importance of these fish in pop culture and also because we have a really great research team here, don't we? More specifically, I'm focusing on the red-bellied piranha, which is said to be the most aggressive of the lot, and the ones that humans are more than likely to have issues with than any other species. That may sound odd at first, but piranhas were never man-eaters specifically. Instead, they're technically omnivores and will eat just about anything that suits them at times, even if it's just a seed or even a plant. When it comes to the red-bellied piranha, though, you'll likely have seen this one in films like the Piranha franchise that includes Piranha 3D because that title is oh so clever. But anyways, in the movies, these are the ones that not only feast upon people, they completely devour their skin, muscles, organs, and more within moments. While these are not the brightest of movies in history, you can see why the imagery would stay with a person long after they've seen it. The irony is that while they can be dangerous to humans, much like with piranhas as a whole, you only have to fear them if you end up provoking them, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, or they find your dead body in a river. They tend to be scavengers more than anything else, and not that I want to test my luck against them, Oh, and if you want more proof of their non-human hating nature, they can also be bought as aquarium pets. Number 8. Sea snakes. Well, there are plenty of snakes that either reside on the water or literally beneath it, and certain kinds of sea snakes are highly venomous. In fact, certain species are known to have venom that's so potent it's 5 times the level that's even needed to kill a human. These snakes, such as the beaked sea snake and the Dubois sea snake, are among the most venomous creatures in the ocean. Despite their deadly venom, sea snakes are generally not aggressive and will only bite if they feel threatened or provoked. They are often found swimming near coral reefs or in shallow waters, where they hunt for fish, eels, and crustaceans. Interestingly, sea snakes have adapted to their aquatic environment with paddle-like tails and the ability to hold their breath for up to 2 hours while diving. Their venom is primarily used to immobilize prey quickly, and in most cases they prefer to avoid humans altogether. However, fishermen in regions like India and Southeast Asia often encounter them accidentally when pulling in nets, which can lead to dangerous bites. While antivenom exists for some species, the remote locations where these snakes are found can make treatment difficult. The good news is that these kinds of snakes are typically only found around India, so if you're not there, you're probably safe. Probably. Number 7. Moray eel. Have a look at the moray eel with its teeth exposed. It's quite the intimidating image. In fact, most people picture the moray like this because it has a habit of repeatedly opening and closing its mouth, which many take as a sign of intimidation when actually it's just a natural function that they have that allows them to breathe. But then again, sometimes perception turns into reality for some people. What may surprise you is that the moray eel is actually a kind of opportunistic predator, meaning that it will go after anything that it feels that it can eat, even with some surprising results. Moray eels have a second set of jaws, called pharyngeal jaws, which are located in their throat and shoot forward to grab prey, making them even more effective hunters. Their diet typically consists of fish, crustaceans, and cephalopods, but they've also been known to scavenge when the opportunity arises. Interestingly, moray eels often form hunting partnerships with other predators, such as groupers, working together to flush out prey from hiding spots. Their long, slender bodies allow them to navigate tight crevices in coral reefs, where they ambush unsuspecting prey. Despite their fearsome appearance, moray eels are shy creatures and prefer to avoid humans unless provoked. Divers who encounter them often describe their movements as graceful, almost snake-like, as they glide through the water. However, their sharp teeth and strong bite can cause serious injuries if they feel threatened, so it's best to admire them from a safe distance. In fact, one time it was even found eating a venomous fish that I'll talk about later, and it was completely fine. Now, they aren't the kind of thing that humans have to fear, that is unless they're provoked, and something tells me that is not a thing that you want to do because those teeth look really, really sharp. Number 6. Portuguese man-of-war. Now, this is not a type of ship that Portugal uses. It's actually the name of a certain kind of creature that many of you would likely think is a jellyfish, even though it's actually not. The Portuguese man-of-war is a hydrozoan, which is a unique class of animal that can function either as a singular entity or as an entire colony of creatures that are working together to give the appearance of a singular body. And even more scientific jargon, it's a siphonophore, and so it's a colonial organism made up of things known as zooids. This colony of creatures all have a purpose within the Portuguese man-of-war, and that includes helping it to move around or even stinging someone or something that might get a bit too close. Today, we're going to be talking to you about the man-of-war. That's part of the reason why so many people confuse it with a jellyfish, because they have a very nasty sting due to the venom that's inside of them. The Portuguese man-of-war, not unlike a jellyfish, uses its sting to paralyze its prey, so that it can then consume it or be used to ward off creatures that try to attack. Furthermore, and once again just like a jellyfish, if one of its tentacles were to be removed from its main body, it could actually sting you even though it's not part of the colony anymore. Oh, and you could literally wade into one of these creatures, and then you're going to be in a world of pain. That's a bad thing for the record, as the venom may travel to the lymph nodes and could cause symptoms like an allergic reaction, including swelling of the larynx, airway blockages, cardiac distress, and shortness of breath. Woohoo! Other symptoms can include fever, circulatory shock, and in extreme cases you could die. Now, to be clear, that is not the most likely thing to have happened to you, but it has happened in the past. Australians know best about the Portuguese man-of-war, as about 10,000 people are stung by them there every single year, and if the Aussies don't want to go down under with this thing, well then neither should you. Number 5. Barracuda. Anyone who has ever watched Finding Nemo knows exactly why you should be afraid of barracudas. They are creatures with incredible speed and power, and they're known to prey on just about anything that they think they can get their teeth into, and that also includes fish eggs. This is because they are an opportunistic predator, and their range within the ocean's waters highlights how they're willing to travel to get the food that they need. The barracuda is known for its speed, its sharp teeth, and its fearsome reputation in the ocean. It can be found in tropical and subtropical waters worldwide, and they belong to a genus of fish that are easily recognized by their elongated bodies, powerful jaws, and silvery reflective scales that help them to blend into their surroundings. There is actually a type of great barracuda that can get up to 6 feet long and weigh over 100 pounds. Despite their fearsome image though, they are crucial to marine ecosystems and help to maintain balance by controlling populations of other small fish. What separates the barracuda from other things on this list in terms of deadliness is the speed that they have in the water. They literally burst through the water at over 43 kilometers per hour and can overtake just about anything they may be chasing. And then, when they do get them within range of their mouth, they don't just do a simple kill. They tend to bite them in half in order to ensure that they're dead. Arguably just as terrifying as that, if they go after something larger than themselves, they'll literally rip it to shreds until it's dead, and then that's when they'll dine upon it. So yes, it is a freaky creature that you certainly do not want to mess with. Number 4. The box jellyfish. It's a little surprising that it took this long to get to a true jellyfish, but I waited because the box jellyfish is an entity that has taken out humans in the past and has been labeled as one of the most venomous creatures in all of the ocean. Their attacks in places like Australia are the reason that we know about them in the first place, and they've gone to great lengths to try and stop attacks from happening. In fact, they have put out nets to try and keep jellyfish away from the shore so that people don't accidentally swim into them. There's been antivenom and first aid treatments developed in order to treat the stings from them, so if you are the unfortunate one that gets stung by one of them, if you can get treated quickly, you are more than likely able to be fine in the end. And no, urinating on a jellyfish sting is not recommended as an effective treatment. It's actually a myth, even though being a widely held belief that originated out of pop culture rather than science. I mean, look at that, just looks like something that's come out of someone's nose. Urine is actually not acidic or concentrated enough to deactivate the cells that release the venom from a jellyfish, and in some cases, it can even trigger the stinging cells to release even more venom, especially if it's diluted. Number 3. The lionfish. I actually mentioned this fish near the start of this video when I talked about the stonefish. These are two that are often compared to each other due to their incredibly venomous natures, but while the stonefish loves to be more discreet in its presence, the lionfish is much more colorful. The irony is that this colorfulness is intentional. It wants a predator to know that it's dangerous and that it shouldn't get near them, and it apparently works quite well as they have no natural predators outside of one exception. While the venom that it has is not as bad as the stonefish, it can still cause a lot of pain, nausea, vomiting, fever, headache, numbness, paralysis, diarrhea, sweating, temporary paralysis of the limbs, respiratory insufficiency, heart failure, convulsions, and even death if you are not in the peak amount of health, and really, who is these days? The venom can cause you to be in pain for several days, which is just not something that anybody wants to go through. So what was that exception to the rule I mentioned before? Well, that would be itself. You see, lionfish are notoriously cannibalistic. They will eat their own kind if they feel that they can get away with it, and they will absolutely get away with it. It may be weird, but it's also true. Lionfish are actually native to the Indo-Pacific regions but now have a growing concern in the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico, and even the Caribbean. They're known for their vibrant striped bodies and flowing venomous spines, and they are as captivating as they are problematic. First observed in the U.S. waters in the 1980s, likely due to aquarium releases, they have since spread rapidly and become invasive, posing a severe risk to biodiversity, particularly within the Atlantic where they outcompete native species for both food and space. It's another reminder about how humans can screw things up and introduce non-native species into waters where they have a far-reaching effect on marine ecosystems. Efforts are in place to control them, but they remain an example of the fragility and interconnectedness of the oceans. Number 2. The bull shark. For the next shark on this list, the bull shark is one that is absolutely known for an aggressive nature, and so it's one that you should avoid if at all possible. Plus, it's able to be in both freshwater areas and other areas. It's also been spotted in something like rivers, not to mention it's known to dwell in the more shallow waters near a beach. So it is absolutely a shark that you may encounter while having a relaxing dip in the waters off of a coastline. Now, there won't be any Jaws music to let you know that you're in danger. The sad irony of this is that because of the fear that surrounds sharks like the bull shark and the fact that they do inhabit areas near humans, people have gone and culled their population in huge numbers. They're actually listed as a vulnerable species, and so they have to be protected, as ironic as that may sound. To be clear though, the fear around bull sharks is warranted, as they account for a vast majority of shark attacks near shorelines, regardless of whether they end up being fatal or not. Number 1. The blue-ringed octopus. It is true you do not typically hear about an octopus being venomous, but as has been proven repeatedly, there are exceptions to the rule, and the blue-ringed octopus would be that exception in this case. One of the reasons for this is likely due to its size, as it only grows to be about 20 centimeters, so it likely needs all of that venom in order to ward off any predators that may think that it's an easy meal. Its vibrant blue rings, which appear even brighter when the octopus feels threatened, serve as a warning to potential predators to stay away. Despite its small size, the blue-ringed octopus is one of the most dangerous marine animals in the world, capable of delivering a venomous bite that can kill a human in minutes. The tetrodotoxin it produces is 1,200 times more toxic than cyanide, and there is currently no known antidote for its venom. What makes it even more terrifying is that its bite is often painless, meaning victims may not realize they've been envenomated until symptoms like paralysis and respiratory failure begin to set in. The octopus uses its venom not only for defense but also to immobilize its prey, which includes small crabs, shrimp, and fish. It hunts by pouncing on its prey and delivering a quick bite, injecting the venom to paralyze its victim almost instantly. Oh, and if you're wondering what kind of venom it is that can make a predator fear it, it actually has a whole roster of toxins in it. However, the one that you'll want to know about is tetrodotoxin, the one that I talked about with the pufferfish. Yes, this blue-ringed octopus has it inside of its body as well, and that's all the more reason that you should never, ever get close to it. That's a wrap on the deep-sea creatures you might want to steer clear of. Which of these ocean dwellers gave you the biggest chills, and which one would you dare to see up close? Maybe there's another terrifying sea creature you think deserves a spot on this list. Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the other cool videos popping up on the screen, and I'll see you next time.